of Freilich and Chanukah. This is an exciting day in the world of, personally, the world of Dirshu Mishnah Berurah, as we catch up finally and we begin and learn Siman Pei Aleph, continuing the halachas of Kriya Shema as they relate to Tzayah. And today the Machaber tells us we're going to be learning about Din Tzayas Katan. Says the Machaber, Katan shegiel lechlal she'achar kiyot b'yachal echol kezayis. A cotton that reaches to the age that someone can eat a kezayis dagan of grain b'chdei shuchol gadol lechol achilas bras marchik emisei asay oy mimei raglav, which of course everyone knows is generally the time that the tzayah starts to smell as well. But the Machaber over here gives us an equation to know when that is. When the child begins eating the appropriate grains, the size of a kezayis in the right amount of time, also an important detail, because, come on, give any age kid, a piece of challah, he can, sit there and suck on it forever. But that's not called eating it in the normal amount of time. So explains the Mishnah Berurah over here, Sif Katan Aleph, Katan She'igia. Davka. Explains the Mishnah Berurah, now you can see your page of Mishnah Berurah. Davka Katan. Aval gadol, afilu ein yachal echol klal dagon. Says the Mishnah Berurah, let's say we have a gadol, someone who's of age, but he can't eat grain. Still, marchika misayasai mimei raglav. Still, you have to distance from the tzayah, from the mei raglayim. I see that, 1 second, apologies. I see that that we're having a bit of a audio issue over here. I think that should now help it. 1 second. Okay, now we should be good. So says the Mishnah Berurah, Gadol, that what? Afilu eina yachal echel klal has, still you have to be marchik from his sayah and his meiraglayim. The Gadol mikri linian zeh, what is the age of a Gadol? Mishu kvar shis kvar sheva. So once someone is 6 or 7 years old, it's not a question that even if the child has issues, still you have to be marchik from his sayah. Lechlal, Sifkat and Beis, says the Mishnah Berurah, Shachar, Tzalaimer. What exactly, the wording of the Machaber was a little bit interesting. I'm sure some were bothered that we sort of read through it quickly, but let's allow the Rebbe, let's allow the Mishnah Berurah to explain. This child, we never saw him actually eat the grain in the requisite amount of time. Whatever that age is, 16 months, 18 months, 12 months, whatever it is, someone else his age could eat. Mistama gamu yachal echel vafilu min yachal echel el al yedei bishul mikri achila. Says the Mishnah Berurah, even if he could only eat it via bishul, you have to cook up the food. It's the same thing. Aval mukata nuchalosh, let's say yisek ve'edua lanu. Shen yachal echel gzayis v'chdei achilas bras. Ein tzach la'achel misayos me'reglav afilu ben shalosh v'arba shanim. Meaning he never was able to eat. Let's say one time he could eat and then he turned sick. It's been many days. Certainly when he uses the bathroom now, this is not a tzayah that came from Dagam. So once the child at some level eats grain, or once the child reaches the age that everyone else is eating grain, or once he one time did it, then he has such a din. More than this, he never ate grain. Let's say he's able to. We know this is a strong kid, but for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe there's some new diet that they don't want to feed kids grain young. So even if he never ate it, it's the same status as a gadol. Some are makel, some are a bit more, I don't want to say practical, but practical in this sense that if you know that this kid hasn't eaten grain, if you know that the diaper is not going to be smelly, some are more makel. And again, we point out, we're talking about the tzayah itself, that you should be machmir to barchik yourself in the tzayah of the cotton, the savik iser tayru. If you daven, you don't have to repeat. The yesh There's what to rely upon. If you know the child did eat, then of course you do have to go back. Dagon, Sivkat and Gimel explains the Mishnah Berurah. Kol chamishas minim kriyin dagan, all 5 grains. And now here the Mishnah Berurah keys us in. Why are we so honed in on dagan? Because once when a child is eating grains, then the tzaya, then it smells. If they cooked up food that they made for the child, we gauge what a god will be able to eat. V'shir pras, what is shir of achilas pras? Yesham mishalosh beitzin, 3 eggs. Yesham arba beitzin. Chozem misad adin. That's all meikra adin. Aval toiv v'yosha, what is proper? Who laharchik misayas katan afilu ben shmoina yamim. Says Mishnah Berurah, an extreme chumrah. Everything we're talking about is min adin. What is the letter of the law when you have to separate from the tzaya? But once a child is 8 days old, says Mishnah Berurah, the appropriate thing is not to daven, not to say brachas, no kriyishma within the vicinity of the tzaya of that child. It's not appropriate to say Shmiya Shema opposite the children. They play in the garbage, and their clothing is all filthy. Gadol Sivkat and Dal. Gadol Zera Telemer Adam Bein, any regular person. Some are longer, some are shorter. If the kid takes longer to eat, then Areyu Kemi Shaichla Yoim Chatzi Zayis Ulmach Chatzayis. If so only half as I say and half tomorrow. Shkenu Alach L'Mash Mesina Da'al Moshe Achilah Mitzaref L'Shia Arucha Kazuna Achilah is not Mitzaref. Then we wouldn't have to be concerned for his Saya. Marchikin Sivkat and Heish Shekol Sheyigia L'Chlal Zet Saya Misrachas. At this point, as we explained, the Saya starts to get smelly. Near the Kivan Sheyigia L'Shir Zeh explains the Mishnah Berurah, once a child reaches this age, Gam Neged Amud Shalai. Opposite, when he urinates, who Asr Min Atayr Kamo Shar Adam Gadol, like every other Gadol. And we continue with Sif base. Says the Mechaber. One is in the middle of reading. Opposite him. What should he do? He should walk that it's behind him. After if it's impossible. There's nowhere to walk. Then you should walk so that the tzay is on your sides. You continue davening wherever you stopped. Says Rabbeinu Yoina, if you were in a place that you should have realized there was sayah, then you got to go back to the beginning. And we continue with the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Zayin. Sif Katan Zayin explains the Mishnah Berurah, Haya Kairi. You're in the middle of reading and then you realize there is Saya. You're saying Shemon Esrei. V'ra Tzaya Sif Katan Ches. Hu Adin Din Meiraglayim, the same din. Uchamam Sif Sayavdi Sif Chav Zayin. Ayach Le'ini Lachzar Acher Kach L'Kuliyam Meiraglayim in Chayzel Makim Shapasik, because we've seen many times that for any din d'Rabbanan you never have to repeat, you only go back to where you stopped. Kanal B'Sayv Siman Ayin Vav. Kinegdoi Sif Katan Taz. Mary Yishu Yaisim Dalam Zemakim Shekol Areach. Of course. Reminds us the Mishnah Berurah. You have to be 4 amos away from where the smell stops. Because if you're within 4 amos of the smell, of course you have to repeat. Because you're negligent. If you're within 4 amos and you smell something, you should have checked what's going on. You should walk till the Asaya is behind you. Sifkat in Yod says the Mishnah Berurah. You could turn your head. You're not able to short so you can just turn your whole body. From where the smell stops, in front of you, Nahar. Now says Mishnah Berurah, 1 second. I just said you can just turn your body. So what's the difference if there's a river in front of you? So says Mishnah Berurah, the case is that your mamish can't move. Then they says he whatever trees in the lavachi. Because if not, just turn your body. Even the low high like since it's not within your 4 amos, therefore we don't say that you should have necessarily checked before you began davening. So lived like Kamali Einav. The Torah didn't require you to search as far as I could see to make sure there's nothing there. Usvarach Raina Svirale Kivan Dayamakam Sharoylis Stabek Pasha, he's negligent. He should have made sure there's nothing there. Ledina concludes the Mishnah Berurah is always paskening. Near de'ein lahachmer b'di'evet. Lechatchila b'machmer. Make sure there's no soya, make sure there's no smell. But b'di'evet, if you did it, don't be machmir. Tader chayim, chokon shleim of oichar achrayim. Zmanenu kulam atiku rak de'arishon ledina. Many of them don't even quote Rabbeinu Yaina. V'imshagidei ligmar kula. But if you waited the amount of time to say the whole thing, I love Siman Samachem Mishnah Berurah Sham Baruch Hashem. Very excited. A Shikol Chanukah present that we're back up to date. Psiyata Dishmaya. We should be able to keep up to date as we continue with Siman Pei Beis in the next year. Mirza Hashem.